Hello everyone, my name is Rahana Jamal. My role at the Western Justice Center is as the Restorative Schools Manager for the Dream Centers. I'm also an adjunct professor at Pepperdine Caruso School of Law. The point of this next video is to discuss three things. What is peer mediation? Who is an ideal peer mediation coach? And what are your responsibilities? And what does a peer mediation program look like? When working in school environments, we always strive to do with. This means that we are focused on a mindset of collaborative problem solving. We always strive to make decisions by moving towards the do with model so that everyone's needs are met while maintaining a care for the relationship. Our goal is to provide empathy and care in all circumstances and to allow for safe and generative communication so students can feel comfortable engaging with adults and their peers.
My name is Shalfin Roberts, and I'm currently a senior director at Pepperdine Caruso School of Law, and I teach at the Strauss Institute as well. My current title is Senior Director of Global Strategy and Development. I teach mediation theory and practice, restorative justice, and many other things to do with this work. I'll tell you that my connection with Western Justice Center has been primarily based on Elisa, the executive director. She's got an amazing energy, but it really came about because there was a mediator and a volunteer who was connected with both the world that I was in and this world too. My previous job before Pepperdine I was the director of dispute resolution for the city of Los Angeles and the city attorney's office there. And so I had a mediator who was doing work with us. Her name is Sally Basson-Alter, thank you, Sally, and also with the Western Justice Center, and she said, you should meet Elisa. And I thought, okay, cool. I meet a lot of great people, but when I got to meet Elisa, her energy and her vibrancy, as you know, was just incredible. And that mixed with the Western Justice Center's mission was just calling my name. And I believe in 2021, I received the Champion of Justice award, which was a deep honor for me, just to recognize the work that I was doing with the city attorney's office there, which was really focused on policing, working with the LAPD and the community and bridging that gap. And we conducted mediations when there was an allegation of bias or discourtesy. So it was an honor to have that work recognized. And ever since then, I've been just a huge fan of Western Justice and Elisa. And I've become a board member recently, so I'm so thankful and honored that I can now call myself a board member for Western Justice Center. And that's a little bit about me. What is peer mediation? Peer mediation is like normal mediation, but led by students and for students. It's a tool to help them resolve conflict and can serve as an alternative or complement to punitive discipline. So as with traditional mediation, participation is entirely voluntarily. Mediations are facilitated by an impartial student mediator who guides the process, but doesn't make decisions in terms of the outcome. Each party voluntarily comes together to solve the conflict and reach a mutually agreed upon solution. The importance of youth development through mediation. Self-governance and autonomy. This process will help youth begin to understand the power and responsibility of what it means to be in community with each other. This provides another route to accountability and speaks to greater youth empowerment and youth agency. Look, if you empower students with the correct tools, they'll create and help maintain the type of environment they wish to have. Mediation fosters communication, and the outcome creates an improved culture and a more positive school environment. One of the toughest things you can do is be faced with having to explain your choices to a group of your peers. And I say that from experience. Look, in fifth grade, Margot Long, my principal, she sat me down and made me confront a student who I'd written some not so nice things about her and passed a note. And she literally sat me in her office across from this student and said, "Why did you do it?" And I will never forget, I'm a grown man, and I still remember that moment. And so I'm telling you, this process is more effective than punitive options in deterring future conflict. And it has the capacity to create a ripple effect that can transform their overall school climate and conflict in general. So why is mediation important? When done correctly, mediation takes a win-lose dynamic and changes it into a win-win outcome. In mediation, You go beyond positions to explore the underlying interest that supports those positions. And from that vantage point, there's way more we can come to agreement around. Mediation maintains relationships. If I report the issue and then you suffer the consequence, that stains our relationship. If we can talk about it, then we can deepen our friendship and understand each other better. Mediation is confidential. What's said in mediation stays there. It's a safe place to share feelings and underlying opinions. The parties have control over the outcome, meaning the outcome will be more sustainable. There are many other benefits, but this is a really good start. Who's a peer mediator? Well, peer mediators are the guide for participants through the mediation process. Their role is to create a brave space for everyone to feel seen and heard. In part, they can do this by honoring impartiality, not taking sides. We like to use impartiality rather than neutrality, because neutrality suggests that we all can and should remain completely objective, regardless of what may arise in the course of a mediation. And that's just not reality. Impartiality, on the other hand, suggests that we will contain our personal, emotional reactions to what is said in the mediation, but may step in to reinforce norms as needed. Peer mediators also check their implicit biases as mediators and listen, giving both parties equal energy and attention. They get agreement on and maintain confidentiality within the mediation setting and model that norm outside of the mediation room. They let participants lead the conversation. They maintain the process but follow the lead of the participants in terms of the content. They stay curious with the intention to understand more deeply the perspectives the parties are coming from. Lastly, they encourage participants to share from a scar, not a wound. The phrase share from a scar, not from a wound, means to share experiences or lessons learned from overcoming challenges or hardships, rather than from a still open or painful wound. It suggests that wisdom and growth often come from reflecting on our past difficulties and using those experiences to inform the present and future. So diversity among peer mediators is important because mediators as a whole should reflect the diversity of the student body. Mediators often have greater credibility when there are shared lived experience between them and their peers, and they're able to better empathize and relate to them. Okay, so diversity isn't the only factor to consider. Some other factors to consider are emotional intelligence. Mediators need to have high EQ, past relationships with trauma and conflict. You want students who have had a wide array of experiences, and we want to be careful not to put these students in a position to be re-traumatized. Socioeconomic status. This is another form of diversity. All backgrounds and experiences are welcomed. Cultural factors. What cultural elements are represented across your school? And ask yourself, are they represented amongst your peer mediators? We'll discuss this further in the next video. WJC's goal with peer mediation programs. WJC's goal is to help create a larger systemic change within the school communities, focusing on restorative justice mindset. This helps to foster a collaborative approach to problem solving that emphasizes community participation. We focus on training students in community circles and peer mediation so they themselves can grow to be leaders outside of the classroom and carry the skill set of creating and implementing restorative practices within them. We help empower students to affect change, and we have seen the impact that this change has on their peers and the larger community outside of school to resolve conflict and change communication patterns. How does a peer mediation program work? Well, creating a peer mediation program is a multi-year process that starts with training adults and students and ultimately building a community. Often, we start with training adults and students on community building and restorative circles to build relationships and have tools to address conflict through communal dialogue. Our goal is to build the foundational levels of understanding of CRE, which is conflict resolution education, and mediation for our adults so that they have tangible tools to implement restorative practices. Once the school environment is ready for a peer mediation program, we will train students and work with the administration and teachers to help them create a sustainable and realistic action plan. Then this leads to a sense of community because adults and students are taught the restorative justice mindset, which is centered around relationships and how interconnected we all are. It speaks to the theory that it is much easier to engage in conflict resolution when we are already in a community with that person or group of people. than if we're not. What are the stages of creating a peer mediation program? Okay, there are 4 stages and I'll walk you through each one. Phase 1 includes the pre-planning and training. We train the adults and students with the goal of creating a restorative mindset that's focused on interconnectedness and dealing with conflict through this lens. Phase 2, this is all about capacity building. In this phase, we're starting to implement and refine the action plan, which includes an invitation to begin community circles at the start of the year. We focus on building relationships by creating a sense of connectedness and belonging. Next is phase 3, which is straightforward. It's where we create the program. We learn from what works and adjust what is not working and refine the system for referral, data capture, storytelling, etc. And this is where we learn and improve. The final step is phase 4, which is sustainability. This is where the change actually takes hold. We're focusing on shifting the school's culture. The objective here is to embrace ways to create a long-lasting mindset shift so that the program continues even if there are changes in administration, teachers, and students. And this step is critical for long-term viability. Peer mediation training for students look like? So this training is a 2-day training that focuses on teaching students the social and emotional skills necessary to effectively engage with themselves and others, as well as the structure and practice of peer mediation. Day 1 of the training focuses on all the pre-mediation skills. Day 2 of the training moves from learning to application, where they practice the skills they learned in day 1 through role-playing mediation scenarios. What skills do we want students to gain from working with a mediation mentor? We want students to receive effective and clear feedback on ways they can improve their mediation style and techniques. We want to establish a feedback loop about the skills mentioned in the previous sections so they can learn and improve in real time. An ideal mediation mentor? Well, we welcome a wide, diverse array of people to serve as mediation mentors. These mentors will provide coaching and constructive feedback to students as they practice their conflict resolution skills through mock mediation sessions. So, the ideal mediator can be students learning mediation skills as part of their college or graduate degree, judges who use mediation in their courtroom, or lawyers who use mediation with their clients, experienced litigators and/or retired judges who are now serving as professional mediators, community mediators who work through court or law school-based programs to provide mediation services, educators, counselors, and youth development professionals who have embraced restorative justice practices in their work with young people, and anyone who wants to pay it forward by supporting the next generation of peacemakers. We welcome you. What qualifications do mediation mentors need? Well, we'd like mentors to have professional and/or volunteer mediation experience, or be enrolled in a professional mediation program. We want you to be in good standing within WJC community if you're a returning volunteer. A willingness to work with children and young adults. Strong active listening skills along with some experience giving positively framed feedback is a big plus, along with exceptional conflict resolution skills, creative thinking, and a collaborative learning style. We want someone who understands and is willing to adhere to confidentiality as a fundamental value for us. What qualities do mediation mentors need? Well, earlier we talked about emotional intelligence, which is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's own emotions. Genuine curiosity, a feeling of expansiveness, warmth and friendliness, the ability to freely give encouragement and support, and most importantly, come with an open heart, and you'll be fine. The mediation mentor, what are my primary responsibilities? Well, sharing your knowledge and experience with young people, be open to being inspired by and learning from young people. Of course, you'll need to complete and review the training videos. And once that's done, we want you to be prepared for the day. So please review all materials ahead of time, including the mock mediation scenarios and mediation confidentiality and agreement forms. And then show up to volunteer and be fully present. Finally, spread the word with your colleagues and encourage them to join too. Many hands make light work, and this is truly a community effort. As a mediation mentor, what amount of time am I committing? Well, with the Peer Mediation Invitational, you can sign up for 1 or both days. On the day of PMI, you'll be asked to volunteer for 3 to 4 hours, generally from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Some travel is required if you're coming from outside downtown Los Angeles. With Mediation Boot Camp, the commitment is generally 3 hours and requires some travel depending on which schools we're working with. What are some tips to be a successful volunteer? Well, just remember you're working with students. So here are some things to keep in mind. Developmental needs. This requires a special skill set and sensitivity because students are at a vulnerable time in their lives when they are learning and developing new skills. Students are still developing cognitive, emotional, and social skills. They might need more guidance and structured environments, but this also must be balanced with flexibility and patience as they learn these new skills. Oh, wow. In professionalism, establishing and maintaining appropriate boundaries ensures a professional and safe environment. This includes understanding the limits of your role and the importance of confidentiality. Collaboration and teamwork. Being aware of the school environment and other adults in the room to create a collaborative team environment to support the students is key. Cultural competence. Understanding and respecting young people's diverse backgrounds and experiences is so important. This helps us create an inclusive environment and address differences in individuals and recognize specific needs.